Back on the show, we have international recording artist Bif Naked. She is an author, humanitarian, and breast cancer survivor. And she's here today to talk about her latest projects and how she maintains a healthy lifestyle during the pandemic. Welcome back, Bif.
Thank you. It's so nice to see you. Even virtually, I feel like we're at least able to get a visit.
Yes, I mean, this is the way it is these days, meeting people virtually, and it's so good to have you back. And I want to let our viewers know how are you coping in Ontario right now during the pandemic, and how are you maintaining a healthy lifestyle? And
well, there's so much I could say. So I lived in Vancouver for 30 years, and for us to move to Toronto was a complete 180-degree shift. But the great thing that happened was we live on the lake. So there's the equivalent of a seawall right on Lakeshore. So in a way, that didn't change for us, and our lifestyle didn't really change. So what I did in Vancouver always was I was a walker. I walk and walk and walk. I can walk everywhere, all the time, all day. When we stay in Paris, we walk and walk and walk. That's all we do, probably accidentally walking 25 or more kilometers a day, every single day. And I find the same is true here in Toronto. And certainly during the COVID-19 year of 2020, we have been basically sequestered at home since about the middle of March. Now, luckily, I married an introvert. So he doesn't like going out. He doesn't like socializing at all. And he's very shy. And so for him, the pandemic didn't really affect him in many ways, because that is actually how he likes to be. He likes to be at home. He likes to just eat at home. We don't eat in restaurants anyway. I'm a vegan, and I find it's kind of hard for me to eat the things that I like to eat, so I cook anyway. And of course, my husband loves my cooking, so that's all we ever do. And even though March was still cold here, once it got a little warmer, we were able to get out and do the things we always do, which is walking and getting on our bicycles. Unfortunately, July 4th, I broke my wrist this year in a bike accident. So the rest of the summer, I didn't get on my bicycle, mostly because I couldn't squeeze a handbrake. I probably could have figured it out, but and so now that we're going into fall, I'm back to my walking program outside, but it is starting to get chilly again. The gyms are open here, but I have not returned to the gym at all. I used to love doing the rower and the free weights to supplement all my other stuff. Of course, I do yoga at home. I prefer a class setting like a lot of people, but I have not been this year to a yoga class, and I don't intend to go. There are a lot of online classes, which is amazing when you consider even this show. I mean, when you consider how it forced all of us to kind of take all of our, projects online. That's been very interesting, but probably for a lot of people, that means a lot of revenue loss.
Yes, definitely. And now that we're in October, I was looking, listening to your music rather, and I like the song October Song. The crispy leaf on the ground.
I like it too.
Oh, I just, that to me, I'm coping, how to learn how to cope through the pandemic, but that is a beautiful song. And do you listen to that song even, you're old?
What's really funny is every October, we revisit it every single October, and I always have the same feelings surrounding that song. I love it. I love hearing it. I love singing it. I love harmonizing with it. It doesn't seem to translate that well in a live Bif Naked show, but that might change, because I dare say it'll be a long time before mosh pits return.
Yes.
So I think that for us, with the new record we have planned to put out, we have one single that came out in February, and we were going
Yes.
to follow it up with another single in May and another single in September, both of which we have already in they're mastered, they're just in the queue, basically waiting to go. But somehow the year has been so serious that it just didn't feel appropriate to put these singles out. They're both kind of I don't know. They're light. They're love songs in a way, and it just with everything that's going on in the world, it just didn't feel right artistically. So I'm still waiting. I still would like to put them out in the same order. And then on the third single, we'll release the whole record, because now, with streaming and the way music is basically listened to by people, that hasn't changed at all. There's many things the pandemic hasn't changed. The only thing it really changed for me is the inability to put butts in chairs. So that's how I get paid. So if I can't put butts in chairs, then I'm not getting paid.
And I love your song Gym. I mean, that's
Thank you.
yes, because you say everyone has a gym, right?
Everyone has a gym. We all have a gym. We all have that person who betrayed us. And that stuff really, even if we think that we're healed from it, we still carry it with us a lot of the time. It's hard. It's hard to get past that. And then when something happens in our, current life, in our present moment, sometimes it triggers those feelings from before, or it triggers a reaction in us. So yeah, that gym person, and will always figure kind of prominently in our lives.
Yes, and the feedback's been great.
Oh, good. Yeah. It's been, people like it. It's very different. The rest of the record does not sound like Jim at all. So it's going to be, I've always been the kind of person who likes to make every song different. And so the new record is definitely in that same spirit.
Yes, and I love the title of the album, Champion. I mean, you are a champion, Bif, and you're an inspiration.
Yeah, I think we all are this year. If we can, if we can survive 2020, we can pretty much do anything.
Yes, and tell us about the web series Cypher. Tell us about that, your involvement.
That was, I was just asked to be involved. I hadn't heard of it before, and to be able to work with Decisive was a huge thrill. I was a massive fan for so many years, and what those guys were up to last year was they were working on basically amplifying the stories of caregivers. And last year it was really kind of focused on someone who needed care turning into a caregiver. And my story, of course, was basically centered around my breast cancer journey and how I came into volunteering, and then palliative care volunteering. And then with Decisive, same thing. He needed care and then became a caregiver. And this season with Cypher was really amazing, because what they did was they took letters from actual caregivers who were also essential workers. And what Decisive did was he wrote lyrics directly from their words in the letters, and he wrote his raps from their words. And so that was just amazing to be involved. And I love collaborating with him. We made some amazing songs. And of course, Asante Houghton is like one of my mentors. I met him last year doing the Cypher, and this year, being able to just stay connected with him and work with him on this, and Ken Galloway, has been amazing.
Mm-hmm. And what has the feedback been like? I mean, it's was the last episode not long ago? Was it
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. It was the episode 4. So it was only 4 episodes this year. But again, each one was very, very unique. The song was unique. I'm hoping that they will have the songs available for people to listen to and share. It was just such a I mean, who thinks of that? I mean, to be able to write letters, take letters from caregivers and write song lyrics out of their actual words.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a very beautiful gesture for any
Mm-hmm.
artist to do, but also really beautiful for that person who it can really feel seen and heard in that way. And us to be able to amplify and share their story is something that's a real privilege.
And they're not they're heroes, but we don't know about them, right?
That's
They're
right.
like unsung heroes, and sharing the story must, there's a feeling of emotion, for an essential worker who has to work during this time.
Oh yeah.
So it's
I
so
mean, and there's so
important.
many people, and they're just, you know, from the gas station attendants to janitorial staff in banks, you know, just everywhere. Truck drivers, garbage truck collectors. I mean, you know, there's so many people who still had to go to work, and at home they have elderly parents that live with them, or they have a special needs kid, or some other variable of a situation that, you know, most Canadians don't think about it, you know, and so it brings to light some of these stories that make you stop and think. And I think what the pandemic has done is it really exposed for everyone some of the inequalities that have always existed, either in our healthcare system or in our society anyway. And now they're exposed, and it's, you know, it's very, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of resentment. I mean, it's just been a real uprising this year, and the pandemic has definitely exacerbated those feelings for a lot of people.
Yes, and you're always involved in helping others and charities and the homelessness as well. That's brought to light as well, even more so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's been, I don't know. I don't know what the solutions are going to be. But yeah, they're more desperate than they've ever been. And with the COVID-19, you know, year 2020 has just been detrimental for people who are already in dire straits, for example. And now it seems insurmountable for people. I know that across Canada, many people benefited from something like EI or the CERB, for example. And there are a number of people on social services who rely on either disability or social assistance, who many of whom made less than that on a regular basis. And just, it's just not fair, obviously. But it brought it to the forefront, and same with renters and tenants and tenants' rights. And it's just, man, it's been a big year. There's no justice, you know, and that's in Canada, you know, south of the border. We can't help but obsess, obviously, and be concerned about the USA this year particularly. But there's so much uncertainty and fear surrounding that country, not just politically, but socioeconomically and socially. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It is like watching a car crash. I don't know what to say. I don't know, and I feel helpless. A lot of people feel super helpless.
But you're so positive, Bif, and you are a role model, and you have a voice. And what would you say to people who, they're fighting loneliness, they don't have money, but I mean, like a positive mindset, of course, but what would you say, just keep the course? I mean,
well, it's a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of people who, and what you've named are exactly the things. So they don't have money. You know, it's like ever since I did the welfare food challenge, and even before then, but especially since then, and now even more so. I mean, there are people that live in cities that live on nothing, or they live on $3 a day, or they panhandle, and people that are driving their cars from work, or that see the people on at the intersections asking for money, for example, that them becoming irritated with it. They don't understand. Like, I just think you mustn't understand that this is real for this person, and they have nowhere to live. And everyone kind of passes the buck in parliament, and I mean, I could go on and on about it. It just, it's a real problem. And I think that most Canadians don't really understand, because if they understood, they would want to do something, or if they understood, they'd be mad, about it. And the same goes with persons with disabilities in this country. You know, people just, they mustn't understand, or they mustn't know, because if they really understood, they'd be mad, and they would want to stand up for other people. And this is just in the big cities, never mind in remote areas or rural communities or indigenous communities. I just think that it just makes me think that people don't understand. So I think that trying to amplify other voices on social media is the very least we can do, because it's easy to do. Anybody can do that. You can share information, because even if it just reaches one person that can do something, then that's important to do. And it's hard for people to stay positive, for sure, when you talk about, for example, people who live in poverty, or who are people with disabilities who live in poverty. I mean, it's heartbreaking when you hear some of these stories. They want to die, and it's just like, you just, it kills you. You're just heartbroken, and you just think, how do I help them stay positive? I always think about some of these refugees, for example, who are fleeing just in a number of places in the world. Just hypothetically, you can look at people who flee war in, either in Northern Africa or in the Middle East, and they're on the run with their family, or they've seen their children killed in front of them, and yet they still go on, they still move forward. And sometimes all they have is their faith, and in this modern Western world, that's considered kind of corny by a lot of people. But I always think no, because, if they didn't have that faith in whatever, in whatever religion, in whatever God, in whatever person, that faith carries them. It carries them. It keeps them going. And that is powerful beyond anything else that helps them. And I think there's something remarkable about that. And I think it's worth exploring for the rest of us who are not running for our lives. I think that if those human beings are so resilient that they can get through anything, how on earth can we not get through the day? Absolutely. And I think it's as simple as that. It's having faith in either your spouse, or your family, or your community, or your parents, or your dog, or God, or whatever it is. If you don't have faith in yourself, you can have faith in something else, and it will propel you to keep going.
That's wonderful. And in sharing information on social media and having faith, and because it's that positive mindset, just we have to keep going, and because we can't give up. It's
no, certainly. And again, it's like, if we can't get strength or feel inspired from the people around us, again, look globally at people who are surviving life, surviving living day to day. They're incredible. Human beings are incredibly resilient. They can survive anything, and they do every day. They survive so much more than we even will ever go through. And if they can survive, we can survive.
Well, you are a breast cancer survivor, and it's Breast Cancer Month.
It
and you are a testimonial, and so you volunteered at the hospital as a caregiver.
Well, you
Still
know what it
do.
really was that I was trying to do is just be a peer-to-peer support person. And it was the way it started out, you know, it was really informal. I didn't really think I was volunteering until my husband at the time pointed out I was putting in 40 hours a week doing this with the other patients. And I just think the call is always there, you know, and a lot of people who do experience um, any type of, even say for example, and I'm sure you've seen this, people who have had a running injury, you know, say they've had surgery on their Achilles, you know, if someone else reaches out to them because they're about to have surgery on their Achilles, that person naturally, very naturally, will mentor them without even
Mhm.
realizing that they're doing it. So that's volunteering, you know, and that is the basis of volunteering. Basically, you're helping someone out. You know, that's all it is. You are selflessly giving. You are just like, you know, doing what comes natural, which is sharing your experience so that someone um, will either not be afraid or glean information or whatever the case, or you're spending time with that person so that they'll glean information or feel better, whatever the case. And I think that with breast cancer, it was just very natural, not just for me, but for a lot of patients to kind of develop a little group, informal groups of patients that supported each other. And at the time that I had breast cancer, there was no Instagram. You know, Twitter had just kind of started, and and same with Facebook. I wasn't on Facebook, and so there wasn't a lot of online support that was so easy to find like it is today. So we really just had to be there for each other.
I mean, I could talk to you all day, Biff, but I really appreciate your time.
Oh,
It
me
was
too. Thank you for setting this up, Christine. It's always such a pleasure to talk with you and to have a visit.